Welcome to Taxidermy at Home with Mr. Qualheim. I am not a taxidermist. I'm not a professional much in any way, but we're out in the garage and going to try to taxidermy a squirrel today. This is because got to teach wildlife from home, so we're going to give it a shot and have a little fun. I found yesterday, or my last video that I did, if you haven't seen it, that's fine, but my background was too bright. Very clearly, it's very bright here. It's not going to work well. So I laid down a nice little towel here on my workstation. It should hopefully be a little bit darker. I'm going to get our squirrel out. Got that in the cooler. It was frozen solid, so I got it frozen solid. Put it in the cooler, and then put it in the cooler. Supposed to be 3 days ago. Unfortunately, that was a week ago. I ran out of time, so we'll see how bad it is. So I got the specimen here. It's just a squirrel, a standard, nice gray squirrel, beautiful specimen. What you want to do is when you get it out of the freezer, you want to flex it a little bit, stretch it out, make sure the skin's like nothing's too frozen still or anything like that. I do still have some frost on this guy, which is a good sign. It definitely stayed cool enough. Work the skin a little bit. It's going to make things easier. I'm even going to do a little work on the tail right now. Just soften up the skin around it a little bit. All right, my first incision. Well, first I got a scalpel here, no blade. So safety first. Open up the scalpel blade packet. Hold the blade with your fingers facing away from you. This handle slides right in. And you do that. That's it. Now it's locked in there. If I need to remove it later, same deal, except the opposite. I put this up. People pull on it. They end up, if you pull and you release, you end up stabbing your hand. So you just lift up on that little tab and just push it off gently. You can't go too far that way. Okay, so once again, new scalpel blade, safety first, folks. Now, some of you are like, well, why don't I just use a big knife? You're welcome to. You use what you got. I prefer scalpels. I think they're easy to use. They're sharp, etc. So I'm going to spread the skin out, the fur out a little here. The start of my incision. I'm starting at the sternum. I'm going to make a nice, gentle incision. Now, this squirrel is not carrying much fat or finish. It doesn't have a lot of back fat, and I don't want to cut too deep because it's just easier if you don't expose the cavity, the guts, you know. All right, so I'm skinning like this. Once you get going and you get it started, a lot of times you can just pull. But I'm going to start here, just pulling up on the skin, gently separating it from the meat, the muscle underneath there. Once I get it started, a lot of times I can work my thumb down in there, and now you'll see it just separate easy. Once you're started and you have a good space there, it can be a lot easier. Now, if I had the gut cavity opened up, it'd be really hard to do this. But right now I can just peel, get my thumb in there and keep working. Okay. The squirrel was shot in the head, not in the body, so that also makes it easier. I'm just separating the skin from the body. I like to work both sides to where I get around to the spine. So I got one side, flip over to the other side. Again, I got to start with the scalpel here. And you'll notice I'm getting a little hair slippage here. Hair's coming off. A lot of that, typically, it gets worse if you have a lot of bacterial growth. This one's been sitting in the cooler a little longer than it should have. It's probably stayed close to 40 degrees, but I probably have some bacterial growth on the surface. I'm going to lose some hair on this one. It's not going to be as pretty a specimen as it should be. But again, backyard taxidermy or garage, or I don't remember what I called it. Is what it is. We're going to do the best of what we can. Our goal is to create a nice looking mount of this animal, either in its natural habitat, doing a Heisman pose. I plan on using this one to go canoeing. We're gonna see if I can build a little canoe. Maybe that'll be the next video. Will be building a canoe. It'll be kind of fun. All right, so as I'm skinning here, and I'm just skinning without a blade. I'm just pulling apart skin from muscle and fat. So I'm going down here. I want to get down to where I'm around the back, almost all the way. Actually, I'm going to go all the way around the back. So now my thumb, I just separated enough to where my thumb could go all the way around the back. Okay. So I've gotten around the back here. That I worked down further as well on the front and the back. Now I can invert a knee. I just take the knee. So I grab the flap of skin here, and I take the joint on the outside, and I just put pressure on it, and I invert the knee. That allows me to do, I did push record, right? Yeah, what that allows me to do then is peel up the knee just a little bit. Until it's raining outside, kind of a crummy day. Good day to be in a garage taxiderming. All right, and then I'm gonna take and work. Every time I skin with a blade, I like to skin right along this membrane. You can see here's skin, here's muscle. I don't want to be on the skin side because I'll cut a hole. I don't want to be heavy on the muscle side because you got to trim that off later. So I'm going to gently work just along a little bit to the muscle side. I go about a 1/16 of an inch to the muscle side as I'm skinning. It allows me to get another, every time you make a line, you can generally get an extra 1/4 inch of skinning off of that. Got to come to this part right here where it's attached and stuck. And slide my blade right along there. Okay. Now, I'm to the point where I can slide my thumb under this knee joint, just like that. By doing that, it gives me leverage to pull. And what I want to do is peel the skin off the leg down to the hock. So I'm right almost to the hock. A little more. I'm right past the hock there. See, the hock is also known as the heel. All right. So I'm going to trim that guy off right there. I just take any snipping tool, any cutting tool. And this is not ideal, but it's what I have at home, and I couldn't go into school to get my proper tools. So we're going to make do with what we have. So that leg is skinned. Okay. I reinvert it so that I don't get lost and accidentally cut it off or something. But you'll see I leave the foot pad attached to the skin. We'll be able to push enough preservative in there that it doesn't stink, and it takes care of it. We use a borax mix in our preservative, which will be more information about that in the next video or third video, or however I have to break this up video wise. All right, so I'm just going to go to the other side, do the other knee. Same deal. Grab the skin, invert the knee. Push. There we go. Now I got to get my blade out and do a little more skinning around that knee, which I believe, yeah, you can see. All right. There we go. All right. And then I should be able to, once again, slide my thumb, just work it through. You can put a lot of pressure on it at this point. There are other points that are a little more sensitive. And I skin down to the hock right there. I'm going to cut this off. You can cut above the hock or below the hock. What you want to do is not cut the pad off. It's a very real looking part of the squirrel, and you don't want to wreck that. All right, reinvert that foot. So we're moving along pretty good on this project. I'm now going to skin around the tail area and the vent. We'll get there shortly. Okay. All right. Soothing rain in the background. I was gonna have background music, but then I was like, nah, they won't be able to hear me talk. Rain is probably just as annoying. Or it's soothing. Just trimming off a little extra meat right now. Doesn't need to be on this skin. All right. Now, so I don't want to go much further here yet. I do, but I got to get around the back first because that gives me a clear area of where the tail is. So I'm just going to peel my thumb right along here, right along the back. Peel. There we go. So now I'm to the tail. Now I can work up both sides of the tail, or all sides of the tail. Right here, we've got a urethra. You gotta pull that out. And you can choose which way to go with it. I'm just gonna pull it. You see we also went through the rectum right here. Here is the, this would be the large colon. Just gonna pull that out. Now we're on the tail. The tail I like to work with my thumb. If at all possible, I keep some pressure on it. A little too much there. But I push with my thumb and slowly work that membrane. What I want to do, the ideal thing is to get the tail, the inside of the tail completely out. We're making progress here. This one's going well. Yeah, there we go. So then we can just separate and pull, putting pressure on it, pull the tail completely out. So there, the tail itself came out of the skin. So then reinvert the tail, make sure the legs are, did I forget to do the last leg? Reinvert that leg, so the back legs. Now I'm up to the upper part of the body. I'm going to peel this up a little ways, work my thumb in there again. The more you can use your thumb and fingers and pressure to skin, the less likely you are to cause a hole. Until you get around certain areas, like if you're around where a bullet wound is on an animal, or if they were roadkill and you're doing it from that kind of project, I really recommend if you're doing roadkill that you know it's fresh. Like if it wasn't there yesterday and it's there today, okay, it's probably fresh enough. But if you come across, well, we're not going to go into that. All right, so I work up, you do see I have a bullet hole here. So I'm a little worried about getting a big hole in the skin. So then I'm going to get my scalpel out. I'm going to once again work to the back side of the skin so that I'm not cutting a big hole or ripping a big hole in this case. And this one was shot with 22 pellet, just a little pellet gun, or a big pellet gun, I guess you could say. All right. Pump action air pellet. Kind of fun. All right, now I'm going to do to the elbow what I did to the back legs, where I work my thumb underneath. I skin. I don't go to a hock because there's not a hock here, but there's a wrist joint. So you get to the wrist joint. The wrist joint's actually made up of many bones. We're just going to kind of make a path for the scalpel to go through with that crimping tool there, or not really crimping, my pliers, lineman's pliers. All right, flip over to this side, same thing. We'll do this one more like what we did the back legs, where I just have it, I'm gonna push it through, okay? And push, this one has, there we go. Now I can, the elbow is inverted, I can hopefully work my thumb right between the elbow and the skin. And just, there we go. Now I can peel it. Peel a little ways, don't want to go too far. There's the wrist, go here further. There. Once again, cutting tool. Snip the bone. use this to snip the ligaments, cartilage. Let's see, this would be mostly tendons probably, and etc. Tendons, ligaments, cartilage. All right, reinvert the hand. There. 2 hands, 2 legs. Now we're skinning up the neck. Okay. So the underside, you can see where this one was shot. I'm going to skin up the neck. I'm just peeling at the moment because it's peeling real well. All right. Now, I want to follow. There's a clear line here that you can see between the skin and the head. I want to follow that line with my scalpel. I don't want to cut like this. I want to cut like this. I keep my blade 90 degrees to the surface of the skin. I also want to be right on that white membrane there. Okay? And I can just work all the way around, just rolling it gently all the way around. Now, I need to keep in mind where I'm at on the squirrel. So this is a cheek. So I know I'm getting down close to the head. This is another cheek. So if the cheeks are down here, this is the underside of the ventral side of the head here. I know where my ears are going to be. That's going to be my first hole. This should be an ear. So instead of skinning along that membrane, I go back a hair so I make the tiniest possible hole. Okay? So there's the ear hole. And not as tiny as I would have liked. I should have gone back probably a 1/4 inch instead of an 1/8 inch. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I know the skin is here. I can come back this way and make a smaller ear hole by trimming back a ways. There we go. All right. So, moving along pretty well. I can use the skin and my hand here as kind of put a little pressure on that. And then I just, again, the scalpel will just roll right along, and it skins real well. Now I need to be aware of what my next part is. Let's first go down here. We're gonna go a little bit further down here. Okay, we've got teeth right here. I don't want to go any further than that jaw because I leave the skull attached to the skin, and we'll see how that goes in a few minutes here. All right, so I know what my next thing is. On the top of the skull, or the sides, we had the ears back here. Now I should be about at eyes. So when I do eyes, I like to work back a ways because I want to get all of that eyelash, etc. And I want to keep it all attached to the skin. So I'm gently skinning. I'm a little bit more careful around the eyes here. There we go. All right, that's just top of the head. All right, so I'll do this eye first. I'm trying to keep as much of the eyelid and everything on the skin as possible. This one's kind of a sloppy looking side. It's because I hope this weather doesn't ruin this video. I was all excited. Like I finally got things set. I got a good squirrel cruising along. That one got shot through the eye. All right. Then I'm working this way. I'll do the same thing on this side. Be careful around the eye. Working it gently. And there we are. So now I've skinned down past the cheeks. And you can see the cheek here. This is an easy stopping point. It's not exactly where I want to stop, but what I'll do is I'll sever the body off of the head. That way I can keep the head with the rest. Simply turn it upside down so it's lying with the dorsal side to the table. And I just pull gently like so. And what that does is it separates the vertebrae. It even pulled the tongue with it this time, which is nice because then I don't have to worry about pulling the tongue. Separated the vertebrae from, generally it separates at this vertebrae, but apparently this one got shot in the head, so it did remove the back of the skull, which will make taking the brain out easier. typically if I'm taking the brain out, I get an end snip, and I have to get in here and cut here and here in a nice V cut. This actually removes the very back of the skull for me. That's fine. I reshaped the skull with clay. So that's kind of how I'll deal with that. But as long as I'm right here, because it's easier to get meat off before stopping. Like my stopping point would be better if I get the eyes out and the meat off. All right, so remove an eye, you slide your scalpel down in, loop around, pull the eye out and trim off around the optic nerve. You can see there, the optic nerve is the white tissue. That one was kind of sloppy. All right, then the cheeks. I remove the cheeks. So I'm getting in here, going to trim off the cheek meat. All right. I hope this video is still recording and working. Otherwise, I just wasted some time and I'll have to get another squirrel. All right, remove the cheek meat. Which I'll reconstruct the cheeks as well with clay. The cheeks and the back of the skull. The reason you get the cheek meat out is any meat that you leave behind, it's gonna smell. You're gonna try to preserve it as best you can, but this is, once again, this is backyard, garage taxidermy for the best you can do kind of on your own without all the extra stuff. Then I want to get the brain out. I would normally have to snip here, snip here. Also want to remove that meat around the head, the back of the head, or the top of the head. And always safety first, never cut towards yourself. Hold on to what you're cutting is generally a good idea. I've been fortunate, I'm going to say it now and I'm going to ruin that record, but I've been fortunate not to cut myself well working with muscle and bone. I used to work in a meat lab. In college, the meat science, we would have to do all the deboning, and then my main job was cleaning afterwards. But when I got there, we were generally making some hamburger and cutting stuff up. But anyways, so now the back of the head's exposed. I can get the brain out. You want to get as much of the brain out as possible as well. So in my case, there's the brain. Getting it all out nicely. Yeah, that was it. All right, so this is an excellent stopping point. I have a smaller scalpel here just for ease of use. Get in around that eye. I still have some stuff that I didn't get out of the eye socket. So work that briefly. There we go. All right. This would be a great point if I was going to stop right now, which I'm going to stop the video, but what I would do if I was prepared for this video, for this part, I didn't think I'd get this far this fast. I would take this, I would wash this all in warm soapy water. Cool soapy water, I should say. If you're going to wash in warm, just make sure you rinse and cool right away, okay? But because I cruised through, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work along this skin, scraping off everything that I can. You'll notice there's not a whole lot of meat left on it. So I got a pretty easy job here. Like none of that's meat. Yeah, actually, this guy's good. Like I could take it, rinse it in soapy water, wash it in soapy water, rinse it, put it in the freezer, pat it dry, and then put it in the freezer overnight or for as long as I want. The advantage of that is because I got as far as I did, let me get his head re-inverted here. I can take and freeze it flat and it'll thaw out in half an hour. So I freeze it in a baggie, just lay it flat. And when you go to pull that out, she's gonna thaw in no time. And then what I would do is if I washed it, uh, pat it dry, froze it. When I pull it out and thaw it, I'll let it thaw for half an hour. I'll actually probably throw it in a cooler for 2 hours. So it'll be at about 40 degrees when it's done, but it's not growing bacteria much then. Then I fill it with borax, and that'll be our next lesson. Okay? Thanks a lot for tuning in and enjoying. Or if you're not enjoying, thanks for watching. Have a great day.